hot, I'm sweaty, I am still a YouTuber. Welcome to the 18th Barrack Film and Media Arts Festival. I've managed to persuade everyone to let me have the giant theatre to do the intro for this video, which is very generous. I came to Barrack Film and Media Arts Festival in 2018 when I was like a tiny little baby critic, and I wrote a text at the time that I thought I hated because I was so overwhelmed with the experience of going to a film festival that I couldn't sort of focus in on any singular piece of work that I'd seen, and that made me feel bad because I felt like I wasn't doing the artists a service. Like, as a critic, I wasn't giving them my thoughts and feelings and opinions because I was giving all of that energy to the format of the whole festival. And I wrote things like, some films are like dreams you are allowed to remember. I kept crawling out of the cinema thinking of clever comments I could make, ready for when the film population would ask, what do you think? Did you enjoy it? Why? But more and more in that post-film state, I could only ever whimper. My eyes were still adjusting. It's okay to wait and think about these things. Throughout the festival, my thoughts were slow behind my eyes, like I was in a slipstream. And I think it was because I was deep into the tasting menu experience of handing over choice to the programmers. I didn't know which film was coming next, and that was part of the fun because it felt grown up. I lost the will to talk about films, and anyone who still had the energy to do so sounded like they were showing off. The festival was work, not a holiday, but I already know I'd do it again. My aim for the 2023 Barrack Film and Media Arts Festival is to let that experience of seeing a million films and knowing that I'm going to forget some of them just happen. Like, I'm going to submit to it, and what I'm going to try and present are more focused thoughts that I can give to artists, because going to a film festival is a weird experience and it's fun in and of itself, but I want to be that grown-up person who can still say things, and I'm excited to see what I say. I trust that the experience of going to a film festival is going to help expand my idea of the world and also build a vocabulary and expose me to things that I probably would never have seen otherwise, and like, that's very special, and it's a really nice way to grow as a human in my opinion, and I think that's what culture is good for. So let's go see some films.
Bodies through contested landscapes, but coming at all of these themes from very, very different and exciting angles.
So I thought I would start my film experience by going to see a run of 4 short films, and I'm really glad I did because I found something that I'm like obsessed with. But there were some false starts before then. So I saw Made by Lucrecia Martel, who's an Argentinian filmmaker, and like, I really thought it was very well done, but like, I felt like the last few minutes could have just been chopped and it would have been much better for it, and that was a little bit frustrating. Plus there was one scene where, in order to portray like a panic attack, the filmmaker kind of sped everything up and dropped some frames, I think, so that it was a bit more like choppy and panicked, which was effective in portraying a panic attack. But you know, when a style is just one style and then it just suddenly changes, it felt like I was pulled out of the story a bit. I didn't want to think about like the production of the thing, and I think that was a little moment of alienation. Like the effect just didn't quite work for me in the way maybe it did for other people, but that stood out for me. And then it made me think differently about like the next few films I saw, so it started to feel like it was style over substance. And I think sometimes when filmmakers and artists do this all the time, like mash the buttons for effects, like it feels grasping, like they're trying to make up for something, or trying to distract you with cool tricks instead of just doing a film. So I felt like that for Fear, Death, Love, Death, and also Who is Afraid of Ideology Part 4 Reverse Shot by Marwa Asanios. And it sort of got to the point where like I was sat on the back row and I was scanning the back of everyone's heads, and like I was distracted by how distracted I was by the film, and thinking like, is everyone else like this right now as well? Do they sort of wish they were watching YouTube instead, or is it just me? And then I was starting to feel guilty, like, you know, there's a reason these films have made it into a film festival. I should find that value in there. And then I was going back and I was trying to concentrate really hard on the film, and then I was just like snapping out of it because, yeah, like those creative decisions just didn't work on me. And then it was funny because like all of those issues that I had with the other films just totally came undone when I found the artist who I want to be my best friend. So the person is called Fox Maxi.
In the criminal justice system.
Who is she?
When the film ended and I went outside and bumped into someone that I knew, they were like, oh, do you not know Fox Maxi? They're like really big right now. And I was like, why did no one tell me? The film was a kind of amazingly textured post-internet, rhythmic, almost humorous but serious, undermining edit in order to have a conversation about what it means to have ties to a land in indigenous cultures, and it was perfect. I liked it so much that I was stressed watching it because I was like, when can I see this again? Like I really got that hype that, you know, if a painting is something that you like, you can just Google a picture of it or take a picture of it, and then you've got it and you can have a look at it whenever you want. To an extent, I know some people think you need to see shit in real life, but you just get what I'm saying for now. I can't do that with films. You can't like bootleg the film in the film festival. You can't stand there filming it because someone will tell you off. I want the bootleg because I want to show you, and I want to show Zarina, and I want to look at it again because I want to like slow down and watch what was happening on the screen and why it worked on me so well. I've just been checking Fox Maxi's website. The piece that I saw tonight, Fighting Looks Different to Me Now, isn't online, but their previous work, you can just click on it. They've got sections for horror, excellent, music videos, even better, and documentaries. If you open any of the work on the website and click watch film, it opens a cart so you can just buy the films directly. And like, I mention it because one, it's exciting because then I can pay to watch the films, but two, seems like a very good idea that artists should know about, like to directly put the digital file as something that can be paid for and downloaded instantly on websites, like in order to not just throw them on YouTube or Vimeo or whatever it is. People should do this more because like I would buy it. I got some pakora from a shop and I'm going to eat it and watch some YouTube or Twitch and then go to sleep and get ready for day 2. Bye!
Thank you. Thanks so much, Dan, and thank you to Barrack for having us, and thank you all so much for coming. So we just wanted to read a short text we wrote to kick things off. Okay. What if I told you this was not a story about a bad orange man? That it was not one thing but a long lurch that built into a mimetic shitstorm and then a tipping point? What if I told you this begins not with a bang but with a dial-up tone? Maybe the real psyops are the friends we made along the way. Maybe this is all hashtag too soon or too late or too cringe. Maybe satire is a question. Maybe Bob Fosse knows the answer. Meanwhile, Nike is taking a knee and Pepsi has joined the Pride Parade, but Amazon workers are still pooping in their van to get you next day delivery on a book of fully automated luxury communism so you can post it to your Instagram.
Yesterday when I was like, oh my god, that Fox Maxi thing's the best thing I've ever seen in my life, this was also the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Barrack, thank you for showing me the good shit. The programme reads: Renegade remixologists Soda Jerk return with Hello Dankness, a bent suburban musical comprised entirely of pirated film samples that bear witness to the psychotropic cultural spectacle of the period 2016 to 2021. And it really does, like, it is all the words that says it is. Set in the American suburbs, the film follows a neighbourhood through these years as consensus reality disintegrates into conspiracies and other political contagions. Part political satire, zombie stoner film, and Greek tragedy, the work is also informed by the encrypted memetics of contemporary internet culture. Basically, Soda Jerk sat in a room for 4 years, pulled film clips like material and didn't just slice them together but let them absorb into each other. Yeah, I'm finding it really difficult to like talk about because it was a bit of a incredibly specific fever dream where like they had managed to pull so many references from films, but also like Euphoria was in there, so there was TV shows, and even though they were using so much, they were able to really keep a tight hold of everything in order to say something really, really straightforward. And that has like astounded me because they were just spinning plates the whole time and they just never stopped. They were like, they're still spinning the plates now, and I'm like, oh my god, how are you doing that?
Don't they know it's the end of the world? It ended when you said goodbye.
I spent the Saturday afternoon taking Barrack up on the invitation to visit some of the exhibitions around the place. I feel like I've said Barrack Film and Media Arts Festival 100 times in this video, but it isn't just ticketed films inside the cinema. There's loads of artist films in sort of exhibition spaces that people can just wander into, and those are situated all around Barrack in like old buildings and high street shops and things like that. And it's nice. It makes the whole thing feel more integrated and means that people like me who've travelled in are coaxed out of their comfort zone and have to go and have a sort of treasure hunt to find more stuff, which is great because then you get to walk along the river, you get to see people who've circled dog poo for your safety, you get to see all the bridges, film all of the bridges. I found myself like just filming so much stuff and being really self-conscious of how I was filming it because I was at a film festival. This one reminded me of Shadow of the Colossus, if anyone's played that. Yeah, I was trying to take my vlog cinematography very seriously, and I hope you have enjoyed this video.
Around me, it breaks into your heart and revives you, And then...
Oh, I didn't actually notice the paint.
I love this slot in the festival where we're sort of able to bring you a kind of cult film, a film that we really love that kind of freaks us out, and you know, I think this film is it's for the punks, the druggies, the weirdos, the freaks, the sluts, the jocks, the nerds, you know, or some combination therein.
Hello? I can't wait for your parents to see you spread-eagled and being porked by... Why don't you leave me alone?
Whoa! Slow down, honey!
Wow.
Baby, baby. I just called to tell you how much fun I had in your bathroom this afternoon.
In the afternoon, I went to see Cabbage by Holly Marie Parnell, which is the only film in the programme that I have a personal connection to, and that's because I'm friends with Holly. I think that their work is incredible, and I was lucky enough to be someone who saw edits of the film while it was being made in order to help create and give support while all of the content was coming together. I'm sure Holly could have done it on her own, but it was very special to be a part of that, because I have noticed that being here in the film festival, sometimes I'll be watching something and I think to myself, oh, I really wish this person had a crit, or I wish I'd been able to crit this person's work, which is so fucking arrogant of me, as if I know best. But like, sometimes there are easy tweaks that I think could help clarify some works or like tighten them up. And again, I do not mean to say like I was the person who did that to Holly's film. I just think I find myself having those thoughts more with film than maybe any other media. Like in games, I sort of accept that that's a thing that a person has made and I'm just here to like comment on the result of it. Exhibitions, same, it's done, it's dusted, it's complete. There's something about films that makes me think like it's still an open, editable object, and my words can maybe go back into an edit. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's unfortunately what I believe. So back to Cabbage. So the programme says, an intimate film made in collaboration with Parnell's family, Cabbage looks at the complexities of bodily autonomy within an ableist paradigm. Taking place in the months leading up to an international move from Canada back home to Ireland, a country they had to leave a decade prior due to severe cuts in disability services, the film focuses on her brother's writing using eye-tracking technology and her mother's memories to explore how we shape a sense of self under the pervasive weight of unspoken assumptions and fixed definitions that get placed onto bodies. Dissecting layers of language, agency and power, the film is a subtle examination of how a human life is measured and valued. It's like in the programme, Miriam Mufley writes, Cabbage is the kind of intimate portraiture that is only possible with collaboration, respect, and love. And I think like a lot of disability subject matter in film and art, it invites the audience to like witness it and be like, oh my god, isn't that horrific or really sad or inspirational? Whereas this, it feels more like the audience is being entrusted with something. Like, okay, come in, come a little bit closer. Is everyone here, present? Is everyone thinking? Is everyone ready to be thoughtful? Like, here is a piece of art made with David, the brother, and June, the mom, and Holly, the filmmaker, sister, daughter. Like, it feels really present, and I think that's why I got the shivers when I saw it so big, because once you are able to come into that space, you can feel how ridiculously violent it is that medical institutions could ever be ableist. Like, medical ableism feels like such a paradox, or whatever that word is. Like, those are the people we are supposed to trust to look after us, and like when that trust is broken, the way it was broken here with the use of the word cabbage and just like writing off David as if like he could never have any depth or happiness or like meaning in his life or connection, like as if he was just an object, or maybe even like less than an object, because a cabbage is something that just like withers away. Anyway, I release it. It's in the film. I'm in it now. I'm thinking. I'm seeing things that I love the still images of, the full movement of, the sound, the action, the close-ups, the weird editing. I'm like, don't want the film festival to end. I feel like I am being nourished in the way that I wanted to yesterday when I first arrived, and I can't believe there's only one more day of it. Gabrielle, in the future, remember this moment, because you should come. Okay, good night. I just thought at the beginning of this day, Sunday, like, I should clarify that I don't like films. Like, if my boyfriend watches this, he's probably gonna be like, oh, for fuck's sake, because, you know, 7 days a week he asks me if I want to watch a film, and I say no to 6 of those invitations. Like, I'm not in the mood. I don't want to watch a crime film. I'm sick of people solving mysteries. Like, I don't like that actor. It's too long. Like, all of these reasons. Or like, I watch 20 seconds of a trailer and think like, no, I'm okay. But the difference is, like, when you're held hostage by a cinema, you have the social pressure of like, oh, I can't leave. And then you have to stay. And then you have to stay long enough that actually you can find yourself liking things that you probably would never have submitted to. So this is all to say, Michael, if you're watching this, just build a cinema, obviously.
My story. I went to San Francisco.
Right.
I lived to have 18, so I went to school. Then Vince, my dad was there.
In San Francisco?
Which
school?
Huh?
Which school?
San Francisco School of Beauty Culture in San Francisco.
What did you learn there?
Do makeup.
What else? Hair? Permanent wave?
Paint the toes.
Permanent wave?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Oh, I really enjoyed it.
Why did you do it?
I did do it. Did do things. That's the only thing I like to do. Permanent wave, facial, pedicure, manicure. Other than that, I don't want.
You used to do permanent waves. You used to do your own hair.
Really?
Yes. When I was growing up, do you remember?
I don't remember.
Happy birthday to you. Beautiful.
I've been here 4 years. this is my first care job. My sister actually previously worked here and she'd been here for 14 years. So she got me into it.
Welcome to Princess Parlor. Princess Parlor.
It's like in this clip, I can sense how greasy my hair looks, and I'm like tying it up just so that you don't notice, lovely viewer. Anyway, I really liked the Rita Tajiri piece for the same reasons I enjoyed Cabbage. But the care video, like, not so much. I think sometimes, and this happens to me when I write, I'll get to the end of a first draft of a text and realise, like, oh shit, you know, in the conclusion I suddenly realise what I was actually trying to say the whole time. So then I'll start a second draft with that conclusion at the beginning, and then I'll try and use the rest of the text to get in depth on the subject and just make it more complex and interesting and engaging, and like I'm adding to the conversation rather than just stating the obvious. And I mean, I'm not always successful with that, but like I find that happens a lot in my workflow, and that's what I felt was happening for that video. Like, so the film had a director who trained up staff in a care home in order to film things about the experience of being in a care home and working in a care home during the pandemic. But towards the end, it was able to like start to make a critique about the government's handling of that, and I just wish it had flipped everything on its head and just was a little bit more radical and shooting from the hip. But it did like motivate me in a way. Like, I left a little bit pissed off with how it was produced, and I was kind of happy to be pissed off because I felt motivated to like suddenly make films. I was like thinking between Cabbage, Wisdom Gone Wild and Care, like if I was to make a film about my experience of long COVID, for example, how might I use the form of a film as a container in order to hold all of that conversation and imagery and time and voice. And that was actually just like the perfect way to end the festival, having my own ideas when I've never really thought of myself as someone who might make films. This is the end. Thank you for watching. This was like such a nourishing way to spend a weekend, and I'm already excited for the next one. I really recommend anyone who has never been to a film festival before, whether that's like the things that you think of via like paparazzi photos or the more indie shit, like you should come to Barrack. I think it's a really good entry-level experience into a completely international vision and an international conversation as well. The standard is huge, the theatre is gorgeous, and the community that comes here to discuss films is thoughtful. And even though I only come here for one weekend, I really wish it was somewhere I could stay.